and welcome to the Richmond upon Thames College podcast. My name's Beth and I'll be your host for today. Today I'm going to be talking to TJ. She was actually a student here at the college and she's gone on to have a very successful career. We'll be talking about her journey from college to the workplace and any barriers that she faced along the way. Hi TJ, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's really lovely to have you as an ex-student and to talk about your journey through college and any barriers and, mental health things that crept up along the way. It'd be really great to hear about. So first of all, thinking about your time at the college, how was your experience and how did it set you up for your life going forward, do you think?
I think it was one of the most important experiences of my life. I think particularly because of my age and just the amount of different emotions and things I was going through. I think I learned a lot, both inside and outside, that really contributed to who I am today. Definitely my motivation and my ambition and the way in which I think and feel and work today. So yeah, it was very, very important.
Yeah, it's funny because college is kind of like that transition between, so it's not like school, is it? Because you've got, you can call teachers by their name and you can wear your own clothes. So you're already being given a little bit of independence. So I found it's kind of set you up for moving forward into the workplace.
Massively, massively. I think it's that, as you said, the transition period where you're almost, an official adult, but in many ways you're experiencing lots of different things, confronted by lots of different situations and decisions, very adult decisions, that at the time, I think, were really, really important to me. I wish I'd known then that I would put off being an adult for as long as I could. But at the time, that level of responsibility was something that I was, we all had to embrace. Definitely. It was a really, really important time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's funny because some people will say the teenage years were the best years of their life and other people it was the worst. What sort of challenges do you feel you faced as a teenager, both sort of at college, but also just in general life?
I don't know that teenagers are my best years of life, but I would say that I think I appreciate how difficult it was, and more so now than I did then. I think as an adult now, when I look back at myself then, and even teenagers that I work with now, and even my own teenager, and I just can't imagine them having the level of responsibility that I had at that time. And I just think, oh my goodness, what was I doing? I'd left home really young. I'd left home when I was 14, 15. I'd run away from home actually. I lived on the streets. I lived with friends. I was sofa surfing. I was a missing person for a little while. I was a teenage parent. I had my son at 16. I lived in several different hostels and temporary accommodations before there was a youth pathway. So I was housed with lots of adults and adults with what quite, severe and complex needs. So drug addiction, alcohol abuse. I was in lots of very, very adult situations that I could appreciate now. Was definitely not the best environment for a young person to be in, and to imagine that I was doing that whilst at college. And I sit there and I think, God, that was a lot. That was definitely a lot.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, yeah, like you said, to be going through that, plus you're trying to, deal with the complexities of being that age and also study. And, study in itself, it's a huge amount of responsibility because, and at college, you're not given as much help, maybe in support as at school, and you're kind of left to manage it yourself. So obviously here at the college, we do try and support students through that. But it is a transitional stage, really. And you must have had periods where, you lacked in motivation and maybe thought, oh, I don't know if I can, get through this. How did you get through and who did you turn to in those moments?
Yeah, no, massively. A lot of what you were saying is definitely rings true. One thing I would say is that I was quite fortunate in that I do think that there are people who are very, very willing to help me in the college. I met some just amazing people. There was a lady called Chris who ran the youth centre. There were some fantastic people. And remember Chris at one time buying me shopping. And she said something to me that I remember today. And I went to go and pay her back, and she said to me that I don't lend money to people who I don't lend money to people who I know can't pay it back, or something like that. Or I don't lend money to people who, something like that. Basically, what she was saying was that she was giving me the money on the understanding that she knew that I wouldn't be able to pay it back. She was saying that I don't lend money with expectation for it to come back. If I need it back, then I wouldn't lend it out. And it's something that I remember today, that whole idea that if I do something for someone, it's not with the expectation that I need them to do something for me. I'm doing it because I want to do that thing. So yeah, it was there were times when the challenge for me was me being engaged. There could have been all the help in the world around, but just getting myself mentally, sort of emotionally and physically engaged when I was just so distracted by lots of different things that were happening around me was a massive challenge. And your mind kind of spirals to all the different things you're thinking about. And for teachers, I mean, you can never know if someone sitting in your class is going through all these different things. And then, at the time, there wasn't as many resources available to support teenage parents, young parents, homeless young people as there potentially is now. I'm not entirely sure of everything that's available now. But the challenge for me was definitely being able to switch on to what may have been available to me and to stay engaged with what was available to me.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. And I'm hoping that youth services and things like that have come a long way. But I'm sure there's still work to be done, and there's always cuts here and there. So definitely, for any students in similar situations, that's why student services are here, and we're trained, in safeguarding to a high level so that we can recognise and signpost students. So hopefully, anybody who's listening knows to come and see us in student services, because there's many members of staff who are trained to deal with those situations. What would you say? Have you got any advice for students who, we're kind of coming to the end of the year and there's a few months left, but because we've had such a difficult time, we've had the pandemic, we've had lockdown, they've had to switch from learning remotely to coming back to going off again. It's been so difficult. Any advice just when they've got that, the goals in sight and they just need that last push? Any advice that you would sort of give them?
I would say be kind to yourself. I really, really wish that I had been kinder to myself, because there was so much responsibility. I put a lot of burden on myself to perform and act in a particular way. I had real high expectations of myself, and I was really, really tough on myself. I experienced, a lot of mental health challenges from, self-harm, lots of different things I experienced, and something that I recognized later on in life to be quite, severe anxiety. And I didn't know what anxiety was. Mental health wasn't as much of a topic. And it's only as being an adult that I can recognize that certain behaviors I can attribute to anxiety. And then I can find different ways and techniques to deal with that. And what I'd say is that, recognizing that you may be having challenges with your mental health, make sure I say this properly, it isn't something to fear or to feel uncomfortable, embarrassed, or to see as alien. Everyone has mental health. Mental health is not, it's not a term, there's not automatically a negative connotation. Everyone has mental health. Some have good mental health, some have poor mental health, and some have periods of poor mental health. And it's like with every other area of health, physical health, emotional health, we have to take care of it. We have to exercise it, we have to support it, we have to nurture it and take care of it. So I'd say be really kind to yourself. Recognize if there are particular feelings or behaviors that you think may worry you, or you think may need some attention or some nurturing or some self-care or support with, so that you can adjust and support and respond to your mental health to get it to where you're comfortable and where it needs to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad, or having dips or having moments. I think the challenge is when we don't recognize it and take care of it. and just having that confidence to speak to someone. And just knowing that in order for you to have good mental health, you have to take care of it regularly. You have to actively take care of it in the same way that you would physical health. It is something you need to nurture. So I'd say just be really, really kind to yourself. I don't know what people are going through. And there are sometimes elements of guilt. I've spoken to people and they're like, well, I've not been what you've been through. It's like, it's relative. Like what you're going through is important to you. You know, some people who are they might have a lovely home and 2 parents and, you know, a dog and a cat and whatever else, and still feel really low and lacking motivation. And that's okay, you know, being worried about the future, being worried about the present, having anxiety. You know, you're entitled to feel that way and to still receive support and nurturing and attention if you are feeling low. Don't be hard on yourself. Be kind to yourself. Recognize where you need support. And for anyone who is going through something more, again, there's no comparison. You know, what's important to us is important to us. Get your support will just look different. You know, find out who it is that can support you, and just try and engage, because that is the challenge. You know, once you're engaged, you know, the support is there, whether inside the college or the college, I'm sure, can signpost you to support that isn't inside the college. Try your best to engage, and just a little bit at a time. You know, if the world changes, you know, I could never imagine that I would be here now. And that's not me putting my life on any kind of pedestal. I mean, here as in healthy, alive, in a home, you know, with a job. I didn't picture any of that when I was in college. You know, my mind was just battling so many different things, that the thought of me one day being settled, of me one day not worrying about where I was going to live or what I was going to eat, or you know, family that weren't talking to me or who I wasn't talking to, or you know, friends and things like that. I couldn't imagine just that period of peace. It was really unimaginable. But it does come, and it can come. The world changes. If you have to make adjustments, make adjustments. If the plan changes, the plan changes. Be flexible with your plan. Just be kind to yourself. Be willing to just roll with those changes, and know that, you know, the world will change with you. You know, you change and the world will change. You don't have to feel uncomfortable or feel bad or be too hard on yourself.
Definitely. Oh, that's so inspiring to hear. And I know, you know, when you're sort of younger age, it's hard to see that far ahead. And like you said, you know, you didn't imagine that you'd be where you are now. But it's nice to hear that. And for young people who are struggling to see the light at the end of the tunnel, that there is a light. You know, and you've done really well. And can you just tell us a little bit about sort of the job you do now and where you are now, and sort of how you got there?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role now is Senior Social Value Manager, working with ISG, for ISG, and particularly on the project with your college, our college. I've been working with ISG for just over a year. So I joined in January of last year, and I joined ISG from Skanska, where I was working on the HS2 Enabling Works project. And before that, I'd never been in construction at all. I'd been lots of community development, community regeneration, third sector, voluntary sector, charity work, schools. I worked in schools for 10 years, working with pupils at risk of exclusion, people that I recognize as potentially having, that I could relate to, and thoroughly enjoyed that. And then I took all of those skills that I had then and had the opportunity to join construction. I approached my old workplace at a careers fair. Didn't really see the point of careers fairs before then, but I'd had a call from a friend that ran the jobs hub, even though I had a job. And she said, they're coming here and offering jobs. And I kind of went along, because I thought, God, what jobs are they offering? Because whenever these construction companies come and put up a careers fair, they've never got anything to offer. They have an idea of what they think the community looks like. So they only offer, you know, one type of job, or they don't consider the different skills in the community. So I kind of went with my CV and waved it around and said, you know, what have you got for me? And to my surprise, you know, they did have something for me, a community liaison role. While I was there, I moved into community investment manager. And then from there, I was contacted on LinkedIn by ISG to join them as a social value manager. So that's pretty much my journey with that.
That's amazing, and it's really nice to hear that you kind of, you started in a completely different industry, and you took those skills, and each job you have, can lead to the next, even if it's nothing to do with where you first started. And I think that's quite important as well, that you don't always have to have a really fixed idea of what you're going to do.
Absolutely, and massively. And actually, one of the things that I've realized now, and as my confidence develops in my role, I didn't have when I first started. I was, massive imposter syndrome and not feeling necessarily like I belonged, and feeling quite different, and particularly in an industry that doesn't necessarily look like me. My confidence was a massive thing that I had to work on. And I feel so much more confident in my role and really comfortable in my position and supported. ISG are really fantastic. And, one of the big things is recognizing that actually not just my work experience, but everything about who I am and what I've experienced in general has contributed to my role. So many of my qualities and my characteristics are suited to my role, and I get to use and utilize for my role. In working with young people, in working with mothers, in working with people with disabilities, in working with people of color, in working with lots of different people, and identifying where we need to create space for marginalized and underrepresented people within our industry, to pay it forward, to develop activities that create social value for society, and also to push the boundaries where we can, and to learn as well as teach. When I went to the job hub, I'd been emailing the lady that ran it. Her name is Julie, because I had been previously working in, as I said, I was at the time working in a children's home, in community development role. So I was managing one of their homes, and it was about 45 minutes from home. And I was just really tired. I'd got home and I was just exhausted. And I thought, I really can't keep doing that travel. And the reason for that is because a couple of years before, I'd been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Oh, right, okay.
So in 2012, as I was taking my son to school, I lost feeling from my waist all the way down. I was numb and just exhausted. I couldn't hold my head up. I was just so tired. And for ages, I've been going back and forth to the hospital and the doctors. I'd lost feeling and sensation at the bottom of my feet. And I thought, I'm probably unhealthy on this. And I do what everyone does. I was young as well. I was in my early 20s. I thought, I'll deal with it. And when the day came when I'd lost all my feeling, it slowly started to spread, and I just couldn't hold my head up. I'd got to my son's school gate, and the head teacher looked at me and she said, I'm going to get one of the parents or one of the teachers to walk you home. I said, okay. I didn't realize how bad I'd looked. And then I'd called the doctors, and they said, we had a feeling we'd hear from you. I went into hospital, and I stayed there for a couple of weeks while they did tests, spinal taps, all the rest. And then the doctor came over and pulled my curtains and sat on my bed and said, I'm really sorry, but you've got MS, you've got multiple sclerosis. And what that is it's autoimmune disease that attacks your central nervous system. It's quite poignant I'm mentioning this because next week is MS Awareness Week.
Definitely, yes.
I always think that it's important to confidently discuss about people with disabilities and long-term health conditions in workplaces as well, because particularly if you're a young person, and I'm recognizing that so many diseases are young people diseases. And a whole different mental health challenge came when as a young person, after being a young parent, after being a young homeless person, I then thought, why me? This is not fair. This is unbelievable. This is just like the worst story ever. It was another challenge that I had to motivate myself through. I sat in my hospital bed. I called my GP from my hospital bed. Up until that point, I'd always refused therapy and counselling. I called my GP from my bed and I said, you know what, if I don't talk to someone, I'm not going to be okay. I don't know what will happen. I need to talk to someone. So I organised my therapy from my hospital bed. So that when I left hospital, I had therapy in place, and I asked him for a nutritionist, and I asked him for gym prescription. When they help you out with going to the gym. And I sorted all those things out, and I kind of recognized in that moment, if I didn't become active in addressing my mental health, that was probably the straw that was going to break this camel's back. So those are all the things that I did. So yeah, that's another
That's
canvas to
amazing.
switch.
And you're just, yeah, it's such an inspiration to have, faced all of those challenges and to come out and, to be where you are and to be speaking to, our students who a lot of them will be going through similar things, whether it's health concerns or, family situations similar to what you've had, or young parents. We have young parents who, so anybody listening, can identify to things that you've been through, and to know that you've come out and you've got a great career and you're successful and you're settled. Like you said, the main thing is you're settled. You feel
Absolutely. The interesting thing, I mean, I still feel very uncomfortable being called any kind of inspiration, but I was inspired by lots of people. I have fantastic mentors, and I became really good at identifying people that I wanted to learn from and
Mhm.
asking them to be my mentor. And I have a couple, I have a few, more than a couple, I have a few for different things. There are people that are good at different things I want to learn to be good at. There are people that I will recognize are fantastic speakers. I think I want to learn how to speak like that. They're so confident. Or
Yeah.
I watch in the workplace and I've seen how they engage and how great and they are at bringing things
Mhm.
together and organizing themselves, and I'll engage them. And I have several different mentors who I
Yeah.
speak to regularly, who I meet with regularly, who sometimes I don't meet for a couple of months, but I'll call them up and have a conversation, or
Yeah.
something will happen. I think, I want to speak to my mentor. And that's something I always encourage young people to do as well. Get yourself a mentor. And that isn't, prescribed or mandated. No one says your mentor must look like this. It hasn't got to
Yeah.
be someone that the college or someone says you have to have. It might just be that you recognize someone, even if it's not someone that teaches you, or just someone in any of the services in the college or outside that you think, I like the way that person carries themselves, and
Yeah.
I would like to learn from that person. I always encourage young people to be mentors and to have mentors, sorry, and be
Mm.
mentors where they can. I've had those from a young age, and I've kept them. Um, I've kept mentors all through my life, and I imagine I always will.
Yeah.
And I will add and change them as at different stages of my life as there are new things I want to learn and develop in.
That's such a good point. We were actually talking about this very thing today in the office, about how a lot of us were quite shy as young people, and how do you overcome that? And a lot of us said, we would think of a friend or somebody that we know that's really confident, and you kind of embody them when you go out, and um, eventually the confidence does come, but you kind of like fake it until you make it. So you imagine somebody that is really confident, and then put yourself in their shoe when you have to go into a big group environment. And that's a really good tip. So like you said, having a mentor, it doesn't have to be somebody who's famous or is even a teacher. It could be a friend or a family member that you see and is quite inspiring to you in the way
Yeah,
that they carry themselves. And asking them, can you show me how you became like that? Or,
absolutely.
and often it's, they'll say, well, actually, I was really shy as well, and this is what
Yeah,
I did to overcome it. So, yeah.
I'm really, really passionate about creative writing and reading. I've been a big reader always, my whole life. And it's something that I've hopefully passed on to my son. I love and love and love to read. I've become obsessed with the idea of writing my own story and
Mm.
writing my own narrative, and just so just inspired by how the power that words can have,
Yeah.
the authority, the power to just trigger different emotions and feelings. And um, when I started university, I applied to do a program called the Windsor Fellowship Undergraduate Leadership Program, which is a program for Black, Asian, ethnic minority students to support their confidence in entering, the professional world, and to give them mentoring and support. And I didn't think I'd get a place in that. I was very excited that I did. Um, but they had lots of different things. One of them in particular was a personal development program, which there's a sentence from it that again it stuck with me, and it's the idea that the world to you and I exists only within a conversation. And for me, that was really powerful because it really brings home the idea that words make the world.
Mm.
Nothing exists without words.
Mhm.
If you stripped the world of all the words, like what is everything? It's just stuff. But even the word stuff is a word. It's
Yeah.
everything is made up of words. And when I started to understand that, I really understood the power of really creating my own existence and creating my own future through my words, through anything. I can decide what my world is. I can decide what my world is going to be. as simple as me just saying it. If I say it, it's true. Um, and that was something that was just really, really powerful for me.
Yeah.
And it's something that for young people now, just really wanting them to understand that whatever your life looks like now, as much as things seem and feel out of your control, even the last sentence I spoke was a group of words that has a particular emotion and attached to it. Your current world and your future world is what you decide it to be, and absolutely no one can change that. No one can impose on you any group of words or any association or any description about who you are or what you're going to be or who you're going to be other than you. You can literally decide who you're going to be.
Yeah.
And what your world's going to look like, and also what it feels like now, and just to try and lead with that, to try and lead with the fact that you are you are creating your world.
Yeah. Wow. Very motivational words and really powerful listening to that. And it's really lovely to know that there's things out there, like the program you spoke about, for young people to join and to, to help them with these, feelings of maybe, like you said, imposter syndrome, and that we all have at time to time, but that there's, just look out for any kind of program or a mentor or things that can help you to kind of get on
I
and get
love
started.
a good program.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love a good program, chance to meet new people, an opportunity
yeah,
to connect, to network. I'm a big networker. I
yeah,
love to just learn about myself. I'm big on personal development. When I was younger, I used to love reading lots of different, autobiographies and reading about people that had done things
mm,
or made it through things, things that really motivate me and make me think, all right, this person made it through. And I'd always put the book down and feel really empowered and powerful. So big fan of that kind of stuff.
yeah. Oh, it sounds amazing. Thank you so much for speaking to us today. Loads of really great advice, and I really hope anyone listening can take on board some of your words of wisdom and sort of implement them in their own lives. And obviously to say that within the college we have a lot of support in place, so please don't ever feel afraid to speak out if there's any support you need, whether it's mental health support or practical support with your studies. We're all here to sort of serve the same purpose, and that's to get you through to the next stage of life, whatever that's going to be. So please do come and speak to us at the college. And TJ, thank you so much.
No worries. I just wanted to add as well that I'll be floating around as well. I'm your senior social value manager. We're working for ISG as part of the development of your college. So if there is anyone that listens who would like to have a chat, I'm sure the college can arrange for that to happen. And once everything's all opened up properly, I would happily come and spend some time with anyone that wanted to talk a bit further.
Oh, lovely. That's really great to hear. Yeah, we can definitely arrange that. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.